Welcome to Romance Unzipped, your happily ever after book club. I'm Holly.
And I'm Annie. We read, write, and obsess about all things romance.
Let's dive in.
Hey, I'm Annie.
I'm Holly.
We are Romance Unzipped, your happily ever after podcast. We are book clubbing the world's best genre, romance.
This week we read Poetry on Ice by Jessie H. Rain.
It's very spicy.
It's a good one. I am really glad you picked this book.
So tell us the quick and dirty.
So this is a male book. It's about two hockey superstars.
Hunks.
They are hunks. The tropes are grumpy sunshine.
Legit enemies to lovers.
For sure. Enemies to lovers. They hate each other at the beginning. There's a little one bed in there. One hotel room that I always appreciate. So I was happy for that. It was a surprise.
Uh-huh.
Usually I can see those coming, but it just didn't occur to me. And it's hockey, of course, as we described.
Yeah, a contemporary romance. And
it was funny.
It's funny.
Yeah, really just a quick, fun read.
Yeah, I felt smart reading it because the kind of clever little quips and jokes, but then it's
and usually
romance.
I think when a book is funny, it's because of the banter between the two characters and they're kind of giving each other shit and there was some of that, but a lot of their humor was just straight up in the way they were describing things, in their own internal monologue, and specifically in the way both of them denied their attraction. Like they were totally in denial because they were enemies.
Yeah.
And the mental gymnastics they were going through to convince themselves, like, oh no, I just want to punch his pretty face rather than I want to look at him.
Yeah.
The steam level in this book?
Oh, that's what we're missing.
I would call it a 4 out of 5. Maybe a 5.
I'd go 5.
There's a lot of sex in it, and it's pretty
it's
explicit.
Yeah. So if you don't like that, then you probably should save this book.
Yeah, you might want to pick something else. So our two characters are Robbie McGuire and Ant Decker.
Ant for Anthony.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought Ant was a weird name. Robbie is this pretty boy. He's got a beautiful face and a beautiful ass, we learn over and over again.
Yeah.
He's got blonde hair, or light brown hair with blonde highlights, hazel eyes, and he's just like this perfection Adonis type.
Like quintessential, and he's total golden retriever. He's super charming and darling and pretty boy, but none of it is manufactured.
Yeah, it's genuine. He's just really happy to play hockey. He's happy to meet people. He's happy to engage with his fans.
He's just stoked to be here, you guys.
And then we have Ant, who's kind of the opposite. He really
cloud.
Gives off this vibe of don't mess with me, and he's certainly the antagonist at first. He's kind of always messing with Robbie, kind of sticking his blade in the way to make him trip, or putting his glove in his face to aggravate him.
Yeah, he's rain cloud. He doesn't like to people. Everyone on the team knows not to mess with him. The reporters know he's not going to give an interview after. So we have this kind of setup of these personalities. The team is the Seattle Vipers, which is a mythical
NHL team that doesn't exist.
I think. I don't know tons about hockey. Everything I know about hockey, I learned in romance novels.
So Ant is built like a tank. He's 6'5", 200 pounds.
Muscle.
He's got just a darker complexion, dark hair, dark brows, black eyes. We see a lot of black eyes.
Yeah, Robbie has like tan, and Ant is reflecting, and he's sure that Robbie uses suntan lotion because he's this kind of golden color, and turns out that's just his skin. So, and then Ant is kind of described as like olive skin tone.
And he's got a sexy scar on his lip from a hockey accident years prior.
Got to have it.
His back is covered in tattoos.
Oh, yes, the tattoos. The tattoos are huge. So those are kind of the reveal in the dress. Maybe those are the first moment when Robbie's like, huh?
Yeah,
like golden retriever
he notices.
Perk up.
Yes,
like,
his tail starts wagging.
Yeah.
So Robbie is traded to this team, the Vipers, and it's his childhood team. He grew up in Seattle. He's so excited to be there.
Yes.
And Ant is just kind of almost curmudgeonly, like, why is this guy so excited? Our team's not as good as the one he was traded from. Like, why is he always being such a pretty boy and being nice to everybody? I can see through this facade. I'm going to show everybody that he's not as nice as he says he is.
And past even curmudgeon, he's like aggressively pissed
He is.
about Robbie. He's just mad, so mad that he's there and that he's excited, and he can't not fight him.
Yeah, neither one of them, they can't stay away from each other. They are so attracted to each other, like as in like a magnetic pull.
Yes.
And they're in complete denial about why it is. In Ant's case, he's just got this mentality like, I need to put him in his place. Everybody needs to
boy,
see.
This little pretty boy, baby girl, everyone loves him. I know what a real nerd jerk he is.
Yeah, and he does
Those
like
are the words he used.
Well, Robbie does like to fight me. He's not as perfect as everybody thinks. He's just fooling everyone.
Yeah, he's like, Ant's doing this for the good of everyone.
Right, he's helping humanity.
Reveal
Yes.
Robbie's true nature.
And then meanwhile, Robbie doesn't know what he's feeling, but he is just saying things like, oh, every time I see his face, I just want to punch it. I get so excited. It's got my blood pumping. I've never felt this way before. Yeah. And the only way he can manifest these feelings are through violence. He doesn't yet realize that he just has the hots for him.
Yeah, but we know. We know.
I think that's maybe the best part of this whole book is their denial.
It's so good. The denial is so good.
They go through hoops. Robbie definitely comes around first.
Oh yeah.
You can tell he is all in and he's no longer in denial. I don't think he was actually really in denial so much as he was confused. He didn't seem to be fighting it. He just didn't understand. That's kind of the read I got on him. But at about 40% of the way through the book, and after they've started having physical contact, you can tell he's all in at that point. Ant, it takes him pretty much the whole book.
One thing I thought was very worth mentioning and why it was so fun and why the denial and then the culmination was so great was the enemies part was the most actual enemy to lovers that I've ever read. Like within the first day, they are physically throwing blows at each other. It's like cannot stand like
their teammates have to hold them back.
Yeah, it is total. They're like insane. They can't control themselves, and Ant is very much the antagonist. Robbie's like, I'm a nice guy. Everybody likes me. I can make this work. And as soon as Ant like pokes him, he loses
his mind.
Yeah, and they're like punching on the at practice physical
fights. They're getting
fights.
chewed out by the coach. They both have some awareness that I'm a professional. This is my job. I'm messing this up. I can't believe especially Robbie. He's saying, this is my dream. I wanted to be here my whole life, and I'm finally here, and I can't control myself. What's wrong with me? I won't. And I love this about the book, about the way Jessie Rain writes. The end of the chapter is, I definitely won't be doing this again. And then the first sentence in the next chapter is, okay, so I did it again.
Okay, so it happened again.
So every time they see each other, they are just in fisticuffs.
Yeah, and it is, you read it and you're like, no, oh my God, don't do, oh, this is so inappropriate.
Control yourself, boys.
Yeah, and so the way Jessie's writing really brought me into it because it's just like, it's insanity. But we read a lot of enemies to lovers, but this was the first one where
I'm like,
one. They're actually enemies.
Yeah, I don't mind a rivals to lovers story. I think that's also fun, but I sometimes disappointed with it if it's called an enemies to lover, and then I read the start of it. I'm like, well, wait a second. Oh, so this person said something insulting to this person 2 years ago? Like, it's not that compelling.
But hurt to lovers.
Yeah, but the book we're writing, at first we were toying with an enemies to lovers. That was kind of the trope that we were drawn to. Yeah. But we did turn it to a rivals to lovers because it just made more sense with our story. Yeah. But we're trying to keep that consistent. And man, she really nailed the enemies in this one, and I loved it.
Totally, me too. She sold it for sure. And Robbie, we don't know Ant's motivations more than he just hates this good guy image, and Robbie really is this good guy, and he's like, why am I fighting this guy? Everyone loves me, like he's the person that has to go up in the at the coffee shop and is going to be sad if the barista doesn't smile at him. And I know from personal experience that sometimes people are like that. Me.
You're the Robbie and I'm the Ant.
I'm like, God, please. Oh, are they mad at me? Is it because I asked for soy milk? Oh. And so we don't know all of Ant's buildup, but we just see Robbie's like total befuddlement that he is not behaving as a nice guy.
Or as a professional
Oh yeah, it's
grown-up
so
that can control
unprofessional.
themselves. One way I like that she showed us that they were obsessed with each other was the way they're aware of each other's stats, their statistics.
Oh,
because
yeah.
it won't really even be, it wouldn't be important in the scene, and one of them is thinking, well, you know, I had more goals than he did this season, but he's got more than me over the last 4 seasons. And they're just obsessed with each other. They know when the last one
Everything.
had a goal and how they're doing. So clearly they're following each other a lot more than just casual
Yeah,
members of other teams.
yeah.
And you can, as a reader, you can see right through it. And it's just kind of like, ooh, we know and you don't
we
know.
you're obsessed. So it all kind of hits a pivot point. Things are boiling and burning, and then, of course, the locker room
The shower scene. Yeah. And because the coach is chewing them both out, they are the last ones in the locker room. Everybody else is left.
As happens.
And they share
There's-
showers.
There's steam,
They're naked. They're soapy.
rivulets of water down pectoral muscles.
And down the tattoo.
Oh, right. So Robbie can't handle being near Aunt because he doesn't know why, but he's afraid they'll fight. So he rushes to the shower, and then he feels Aunt's eyes on him in the shower, and he's so uncomfortable but activated. What's happening to me?
And of course, Aunt picks the shower right across from Robbie,
Oh, yeah.
even though there's a whole open locker room. And so in this scene, this
Hungry eyes.
first locker room scene like this, where we're first getting a hint of like, well, our hint is that they both have erections, so it's kind of a big one. But our first like actual hint where they're having physical chemistry, it's from Robbie's point of view.
Yes, and he can feel Ant's eyes on him in this heat that he's been describing up until this point, this activation and this kind of fight response. He's feeling it channeled downward in his body as he feels Ant's eyes on him, and so he turns his back's to Ant, and he's he's just like praying and begging his dick to go down, to behave, and he's kind of, the denial's going so strong.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it must be because I worked out so hard.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, you get an erection after you play hockey.
Yeah,
right?
that's just your anatomy just does its own thing. It's just awkward. That's all. But he can't get this to
So
go
he
down.
refuses to even turn around. He doesn't want to show Ant
Weakness.
So then he's describing how he's washing. He's basically waterboarding himself. He's trying to wash his hair just frontward. He won't go back. He's trying to get the bubbles off without stepping out of the line of the water. It's kind of funny. He's just damaging himself to try to protect. And when he finally just blasted on the coldest water it'll go for 60 seconds. He finally makes his erection go away. He grabs his stuff. He walks out of there. And then at the end of the cliffhanger at the end of the chapter, like, and Aunt Decker was hard. You're like, ooh.
And this is the reveal of all the tattoos. Ant has these very artistic tattoos, which is kind of the secret hint, I think, of this later soft side underneath, because he presents this aggressive, like, alpha caveman, but he has these beautiful.
But he's a softie.
He's a softie.
He's very vulnerable. He's so worried about what other people think. He doesn't want people to think he's an asshole. He has these thoughts sometimes of, why did I do that, or why do I behave this way? He doesn't want to be a dick. He just is kind of a loner, and we find out about him. He didn't have a close relationship with his parents. He's in the closet, and I think a lot of the walls that he puts up are try to protect himself and to try to hide who he is. Robbie picks it out almost immediately. Ant says, oh, I'm not a relationship guy. And Robbie says, oh, yeah, you said that because you're still in the closet and you didn't want other people to know. That's why you're not a relationship guy. And Ant's kind of like, what? No, that's just my personality.
No, because I'm so macho and I just hook up with guys. That's it.
But that is how he's just like a sweet, vulnerable guy with this really hard exterior. And so it's fun throughout the book when he starts to let Robbie in. And it's actually, he doesn't really let Robbie in. Robbie just steamrolls his way in.
Charm bulldozer.
Just relentlessly being romantic and loving and kind.
Non-consensual love.
Yes.
It's just gonna give it to him regardless.
So it's a very sweet reveal as he allows himself to just accept Robbie's love and to feel it back.
Yeah, that's actually a theme that I really liked was, well, I didn't like this part of the theme, but Ant's parents were homophobic, but they guised it as other people are homophobic, therefore you have to hide that you're gay, and so we're protecting you because this is something to be ashamed of. So Ant grew up with this kind of complicated sense of like, oh, they're looking out for what's best for me in my hockey career.
And they're okay with me. What does his dad say? It's fine that you're gay, just don't tell anyone.
Right, which is really mean
Yeah.
and very horrible. So Ant grew up with this idea of like, oh, conditional acceptance. And Robbie, on the other hand, grew up in this family that is super loving. He can't understand, he doesn't have a concept of Ant's raising. Like he's not a fool. He understands not everyone comes from a wonderful family, but he grew up with so much love. And there's this part that was so great. Him and Ant were talking, and Ant had asked about like, oh, what are your parents gonna think when they find out you know,
banged a dude?
Banged a dude. Mm-hmm. And Robbie's like, I think that they'll be stoked. I don't know. And he explains that his sister, who is older, the oldest child, when she kind of came of age, came out to the parents as heterosexual because the parents were so not wanting to label them in any way,
right,
that she had to kind of declare what team she was on at that point or how she was. And it was really interesting to think about because I can't remember if Robbie had this thought, but it kind of sparked something for me because I'm married to a lady. I'm bisexual, but I didn't even kind of come to terms with that concept until my 30s. Like I had always been like, oh, people kiss ladies too. It's not everyone does. And but it wasn't something that I grew up trying to hide or protect. Or I grew up in the 90s and people were still really like terrible about making homophobic jokes, but I didn't internalize it because I didn't even consider it applying to me.
You're just a compulsory straight person because that's
right.
what everybody is.
Yeah, and I wasn't
in your 90s brain.
Right, and so it wasn't. I was of course appalled that people are like oppressing the LGBTQ groups, but it wasn't like they're talking about me and I have to hide it. Mm-hmm. And I just was a really interesting moment of realization.
I feel like that's a good point. I feel like Robbie kind of felt the same way.
Right.
He wasn't.
This was like this epiphany. I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. I had it so easy. And I kind of like get to experience this as an adult, but I didn't grow up with all these complicated feelings that Ant had to grow up with.
Yep. Robbie had a bi awakening in this book, but it wasn't because he couldn't come to terms with it. It hadn't occurred to him.
Right.
And he talks about it a little bit, saying, well, yeah, I mean, I kind of thought about guys before, but I really like women. So I just thought that I had figured that out.
Me too. Yeah, and I always, there's many men I was in love with, and it wasn't complicated. So it was when I fell in love with a woman first time, I was like, oh, wow, plot twist. But yeah, this book actually gave me this little insight into, I had always recognized that I'd had a lot of privilege in the way that my family really accepted me when I said I'm in love with a woman, and everyone was supportive, but that piece hadn't really clicked of how impactful that would be if, especially the 90s and 80s, people were really terrible.
Yeah, that is one thing I have hope for my kids. I mean, the world is on fire, and I'm not thrilled about letting them loose in the current world with climate change and everything else. But socially, we've really made a lot of progress, at least around here. That's an area that's improving.
Yeah, it's improving. So we're all helping save the world by reading romance.
Yes,
is the message.
Thank you for joining us in our quest.
In my learning, as a 40-something woman. So it was a really sweet love story, and the plot was interesting because the plot was the love. Yeah,
that's really about it. So they had a hockey team, and when I think of sports romances, I really think often of the plot of the sports team because the season has this arc that's built in, and there's all this tension to try to win the championship or
Yes.
get to the Olympics or get to
Are
the
they
tryout
getting the
or
Stanley
whatever
Cup?
they're doing. This didn't really have that. There was lots of hockey in the book.
Yeah.
It was like the vehicle for their growth and their scenes together, and it kind of was like a physical manifestation showing them vibing, and as they were getting more comfortable with each other, then they were playing like, just magic on the ice, poetry on ice, in fact, is what
Poetry on ice.
they were named as a duo. But I didn't feel like the hockey team and the hockey season really mattered that much because they didn't make the playoffs, and that was just kind of mentioned at the end. They didn't have this one rival team that they were going up against. It was just a book about their love story.
Yeah.
It worked. Sometimes I don't think that can carry a story all the time. Sometimes I miss having a strong external plot to push things forward. But in this case, Robbie was so good at pushing things forward because he was relentless. He was clearly just
Non-con love.
in love with Aunt, and Aunt would say something like, "Oh, this isn't a date. I'm just going to go help you pick out a new couch." And Robbie's like, "Yeah, it's a date."
Yeah,
And
or
Aunt says,
he would just
"No, it's
kind of,
not."
in his head, he'd be like, just kind of like, sympathetically, like,
Okay.
oh, poor guy.
You
doesn't
can think that, but it really is a date, and you are going to love me, and we are going to live happily ever after, or whatever he was thinking. And eventually, of course, begrudgingly, Aunt would say, "Well, okay, I guess you can sleep in my bed with me, or I guess we can have this picnic," whatever it is that Robbie's pushing on him. But what made the non-con love work, well, for one thing, it was just sweet, but
So sweet.
in the relationship, Aunt was the dominating
The
one.
sexual aggressor.
Right. Definitely aggressive sexually, and he would, talk dirty to him and tell him what to do.
Dominate
And,
his ass.
yes, dominate his ass and his mouth.
And degradation.
Yeah,
but
and just
sweet.
reveling in it.
Yeah, kind of like sweet degradation, but it was very much like Robbie was being owned.
Yes, and Robbie liked it.
Said, yes, please, sign me up.
So they had this dominating relationship when all things kind of sex related, but then in the romantic side of things, Robbie was the dominator.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel like there was any kind of weird boundary pushing, or I didn't feel bad for either one of them. I was just like, oh.
Yeah, it would have been very creepy had it been Robbie also as the aggressor, because then it feels like Aunt is just like being kind of coerced.
Right.
But Aunt he would get his buttons pushed to a certain point and he'd be like, Robbie, why do you have to be such a slut? Because Robbie's trying to entice him, be like, call me a pretty boy. And Aunt would just lose his mind and like attack Robbie. So it didn't feel, like you said, imbalanced, where we're like, oh,
It felt
God.
equal, just
It felt
in
equal.
very different parts of the relationship.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, because Aunt knew what he was doing sexually. He'd been like having sex with men, and he knew he was a gay man for his sexual life. And this was Robbie brand new, so it was like, but Robbie was really good at the emotional part.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, they were both like pulling each other along.
definitely Robbie was pulling Aunt more though.
Yes, for sure. That was a bigger. Aunt had the growth in this book. Robbie kind of had this great childhood. He had to realize that he was attracted and come to terms with it, but he didn't really have any emotional turmoil with that. He just was along for the ride. Aunt was the vehicle of growth and tension in the book. It's him coming to terms with the fact that he actually does love this guy. He's into the emotional side of things. It's not just physical. He wants to. There was this one small little scene where Robbie drew a little heart on his window because it was cold outside and there was fog on his window in his car.
Very cute.
And Aunt is just beside himself, almost with like
Shame?
yeah, shame, and he's like horrified with himself because he saw the heart and he's like, oh, now I'm one of these guys where somebody leaves a heart on his window, and then there's like
And
a
I
beat, and then
don't.
he's like, and I didn't erase it.
Yeah.
And he's just so upset with himself that he's just accepting this heart on his windshield now.
Yeah.
But he likes it. He wants it. He just
Yeah.
needs somebody to drag him along.
Yeah, and I think a fun part of it too for me with the dynamic is that they're both super competitive. They're both pro athletes. They're both kind of top of the field, but it's not like all of a sudden one of them was super submissive. So even though Robbie was the one being dominated, it was very physically both participating, but personality wise, even then it was like he felt like a contender. You know, it was this like very kind of equal. Because Robbie just loved it so much.
Yeah,
he was so stoked.
He was submissive, but he would often be
He was like, please
the
do this
leader,
thing to
the
me.
aggressor. Yeah.
He just was so, and he, in their personalities, he is super competitive. And so almost any time Ant retreated, it was this like challenge to Robbie to like, I'm gonna get him. So there wasn't any kind of backing down. It's both these like two very like strong masculine personalities, which also was really fun because a lot of the enemies to lovers, it's like, especially with women or even with men, it's like one person kind of ends up being the submissive, also I guess like emotionally, not in a negative way, but just like there's one person
One's in the driver's seat, kind of.
One's in the driver's seat, and they were both kind of equal, back and forth.
Yeah, and again, you could really see it in the hockey scenes. I think that's where the sport buoyed this book, because
they were equals.
They were equals, and she didn't always have to explain that so much in words. And for instance, when they finally started hooking up with each other and having some success in the bedroom, you know, and they're not fighting each other anymore, the very next hockey game they scored 8 goals or something, and they just were perfect. So they could demonstrate, and they were both like, they wanted to get the goal. They were both still at the top of their game. Nobody is kind of hiding in the shadow of the other.
Yeah, and everyone was playing to boost the other one, whereas before they weren't playing as a team, and as they come together, the whole team comes together, and they are amazing. And then, of course, there's the storyline of the media outing them or outing Ant before appropriate.
I think that's one part of this book that was telegraphed pretty clearly, that obviously the tension at the end of the book is going to be that
someone's going to be outed against their will.
Yes, it kind of, the way it sets up where Robbie's like, oh, what difference does it make? And Ant is describing what a huge deal it would be for him. It's kind of clear that this is going to come. What I really thought was going to happen, though, was that they were going to break up, and then Robbie was going to do some kind of grovel and some big gesture to try to win Ant back. And it wasn't like that. There was definitely tension in the third act, but it wasn't a breakup. It was this exterior problem, and they both worked together to fix it. And I liked that. I think a lot of people are more and more interested in not having to read a third act breakup. And I can kind of agree with that, although I think the stories are stronger when you have all the tension and all the buildup kind of leading to this climax. And in this case, the climax was TikTok kind of realized through looking at videos that these two were giving each other, you know, bedroom eyes on the ice, and like, hey, are they dating? And it starts
the internet obsession begins.
Starts to turn into, and of course they're getting interviewed after every game, right? So they can't just hide from this. There's reporters in their face. And so they came up with a plan together. And eventually, because he felt buoyed by Robbie's love and he's like growing as a person, Ant comes to this comfort where he says, who cares? Yes, this is what Robbie said. He was saying, if you're not ready to come out, that's fine. Like, I'm not going to push you, but I just want to be able to walk down the street and hold your hand. That was Robbie's main goal in all of this. I just want to be able to walk hand in hand with you and not have to feel like I need to be scared. Because he talks about how, you know, Robbie is really trying to help Ant out. Anytime they're with the whole team or they go out for drinks after a game or whatever, he won't ever touch Ant, and he makes sure there's other people around. Yes, and I don't think he minds, and it didn't make him feel like
he's really understanding.
Yeah, he understands this is Ant's thing. This is not a reflection on how Ant feels about me. He just isn't ready. But so then he just waits for Ant, and finally Ant says, yeah, I do want to be able to hold your hand when we walk down the street.
Yeah.
And one nice thing that personally I don't think would be as realistic is the whole team had their back, and the whole team said, oh yeah, like they were taking bets, you know, somebody won because I think they were betting on how long until they were going to come out. Everyone knew, they could tell.
They weren't that sneaky.
So that's great. I'm glad the team supported them. That's maybe a little
bit. As it should be.
It should be. I just think maybe that's part of the fantasy realm of this, but the escapism.
Yeah.
It just seems like there's still so much toxic masculinity within sports that is a difficult, maybe a bridge too far to cross. But I liked it. It was good. It was heartwarming.
We'll call it the future we want to be living in, but we want it now.
Yes, we do. We want the future right now.
Holly, what was going on with the side characters? Was it just the love story between the two people?
There weren't too many. There was one hockey player friend. He was a friend of Robbie's from earlier in their career. And of course, now he plays on the same team as Ant. And he has a thing for Robbie's sister.
Oh, yeah.
And I really thought there was going to be another book, a follow-on with a love story between those two. Although then I was reading, and Jessie Rain writes MM, like male books, contemporary and paranormal, male. So I guess that's why she didn't follow that storyline. But they had a cute, it was definitely a small side plot. It wasn't a huge one, but they had a cute little
I feel like
romance.
there could be a setup for an MF later, though, because it was a good setup.
It was.
Beth is just totally clueless, and he's just puppy dog drool.
And Robbie, of course, knows as soon as Ant
Everyone
sees
knows.
them together, he can tell, and they're trying to kind of coach him along. But he was just a loyal, nice friend. Neither of them really confided in him too much. It wasn't that kind of a friend. One side character, though, that I loved, and I eat this up, the coach of the team, Coach Santos. He
so
totally pulled like a Mr. Miyagi on these two, where he's like, oh, you two are fighting and you can't hold it together yourselves. So he dragged him out on the ice.
Forced proximity.
Yes, and it's just the two of them skating. It's a day where the rest of the team didn't have practice, I guess. And they're out there like, again, over and over, just skating back and forth. And they had to do that many times, and until they finally got their shit together.
The sun goes down, the
Yes,
Zamboni keeps going.
the Zamboni comes out, and
the
they're
lights
still,
go out in the arena.
and the coach is still just sitting there staring at them and like, and do it until you get it right. And another way that he was manipulating them and using his like wise, sage old man knowledge is the one bed trope that I talked about. So they're a professional team. They go on the road, right? They're in hotels a lot. So maybe I should have seen this coming, but.
Or should we? Because it's pretty random.
Yeah,
I can't think of any coach who's
agree.
like, I'm going to make 2 male professional athletes share a hotel room.
But this is when they're still, they haven't kissed or anything yet. They're still at like peak hating each other.
Fighting. People are constantly worried. Are they going to have a showdown right now? We don't know.
So they're still in that headspace, and they get to the hotel room, and it's, they've had to ride the bus. It's midnight. Everybody's tired, and the like team manager guy is handing out all the keys. And he's like, Robbie and Ant, coach has got you sharing a room. Like, until you get your heads out of your asses like, and you can control yourselves.
Oh.
And they're both, like, irate about it. And you can see Robbie, this is from Ant's point of view, and he's saying, oh, Robbie's a pretty boy used to getting what he wants. He's going to go complain. Yeah, he's going to, he won't be able to accept this. But I know Coach, like, there's no way we could possibly talk him out of it.
Secretly, under all this is like, yes.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't even try to argue. He just says, "Oh, Coach wouldn't allow that."
There's hands are tied.
Yep, nothing
I gotta share this room with this other adult male, even though I'm paid kabillions of dollars as a professional athlete.
Did they already have their first kiss? And he comes to Robbie's room in like the middle of the night, and he's got sort of a busted up face because he was out on the DL at some like a gay club, and somebody
messed with his friend.
Messed with his friend. So
Ant was protecting him, and so he beat this guy up, and he's got a beat up
punched.
face.
He's got a fat lip or something, and he had seen. There was just this quick little hint earlier that Robbie always carries around a first aid kit with him because his mom's a nurse or a doctor, and she taught him to do that. So Decker shows up. The knocking of the door wakes up Robbie in the middle of the night. And he comes in and he's all, gruff and in a bad mood. And he's like, come on, pretty boy. Like, can't you fix it?
Club outfit.
Yes.
Tighter than tight shirt.
So they're in the bathroom. And, of course, they're, like, really close to each other. And Robbie is putting whatever, something on his lip.
Suddenly got a hard on.
Mm-hmm. And in that moment, as Ant is leaving, they have this, like, aggressive, angry kiss.
Yeah.
And then as Ant walks off, he just, like, flips him off and calls him an asshole and just walks away.
Yeah.
So they've had that, and it was neither one of them had thoughts of like romance. They definitely were turned on, but they still hated each other. And then the next hotel stay, they're forced to be together.
And the reason I know, this is why actually that was the catalyst, because they come down for breakfast the next morning. Ant's got a huge black eye from the fight the night before. Everyone assumes Robbie did it.
Yeah.
And so the next hotel, the coach is like, you guys are together. And the coach called them in, and Robbie's like, assuming Ant's going to protect him, and Ant doesn't say anything. And Robbie's like,
Yeah, the coach is bitching them out like, you fought again. Look, he's got a black eye. You must have. And Robbie didn't sell him out.
No.
He didn't say anything that happened. He thought Ant was going to come clean. And Ant even said, like, why didn't you tell Coach what happened? Like, you just got in trouble for that. And Robbie's just like, why didn't you tell him? So there wasn't like some huge resolution in the scene. But already, when they still hate each other, Robbie is protecting Ant.
Yeah.
And then,
which is sweet.
So yeah, it is sweet. So then Santos puts them in the same room together. And
the wise coach.
That did not last long.
It lasted less than half a night.
Yeah.
They didn't even make it to sleep.
No, they didn't.
And there was a BJ going on.
And it was like a real
degradation,
like, get over here, get on your knees, like, and he was calling him like feminine names a lot.
Yeah, like pretty boy,
or
baby
pretty
girl, baby girl.
Yeah, and princess and things like that. And Robbie seemed to really like that.
Robbie was losing his marbles. He was just melting, and he had this other out-of-body experience. So Ant is kind of challenges him to do these things, and Robbie's body just responds, and he starts doing it. And Ant assumes that he's he is long.
He's been doing this for a while
because he was so all in, and of course Robbie hides it because he doesn't want Ant to have a one-up on him. But from the start, Robbie was loving the baby girl thing.
Oh, and also Robbie didn't know they were going to have to share a hotel room.
Yeah.
So he didn't pack pajamas.
He didn't pack pajamas.
Why
guys.
would he? He's just wearing his slutty socks.
He always sleeps naked. He can't. What is he supposed to do? So, just for like modesty's sake, at the beginning he's wearing his little boxer briefs, and he's trying to feel more covered up. So he puts on athletic socks that go up to his calves, and he thinks. And Ant is like, "What is this, a power play?" To put on, and because Ant thinks it looks hot, and Robbie's like, "It's not a power play. What are you talking about?
These are the only clothes I have. Everything else is dirty.
You want me to wear jeans to bed?" And of course, then the blowjob happened. I mean, it's the only thing that could have. Slutty socks. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and then right after that, the blowjob, like, Ant is basically saying in his head, "Okay, I just need to tell him this is a mistake. Like, this is a one-time thing. Of course, we're gonna stop." And he starts to say this, and Robbie's like, "No, we're not gonna stop." And Ant's like, "What do you mean? I just told you. Like, that was a one-time thing. It was a mistake." And he says, "I bet you $10,000. I'm gonna blow you again."
Yeah, he's like, "Okay, Ant, how about I bet you 10 grand?"
And that's the end of the chapter. And then like the very next sentence is like, "I'm now $10,000 richer."
Yeah. And each time there was a 20,000.
It was a double or nothing, and it kept. And Ant is just going crazy because
he's like, "No, it won't happen again." Next chapter. So it happened again.
And Robbie's rubbing it in. He's like, "Oh, you still owe me money." Like he's relentless with it. He doesn't just let him live in his discomfort. He's just poking him.
Yeah.
And he says multiple times in many ways, like, "I just love it when I get under his skin." And watching him try to resist his feelings and try to resist me gets me going more than anything.
Yeah.
He's not deterred at all by Ant giving him like the stiff arm.
No.
It just brings him pleasure to see Ant working so hard.
That's the non-con love part. So it's not non-con like he's forcing him bodily to do something. He's just so relentless with his like, "Oh, I hear your arguments, but
I'm gonna blow you again."
Yeah. Or you're gonna
Yeah, you're gonna ask me to.
Yeah, totally. Like,
yeah, it's very much that.
It's just gonna happen. Yeah, like when you're just, "Oh, I'm sorry you don't want to brush your teeth, but you've got to. It's just how it's going."
After their first sex scene, like actual like penetration, and again, they're still sharing a hotel room. When they're done, Robbie just like gets up and he goes over to Ant's bed and like curls up. And Ant's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I don't want to sleep over there. Like, that's a wet spot. If you want it, you can have it, but I'm not sleeping in it." And Ant's like, I can't just let him kick me off into the wet spot.
And I hate the wet spot, so
I can't do that. So I guess I have to. And then of course they're cuddling, they're having pillow talk, and Ant's just like, what is going on here? Meanwhile, he's wrapping
holding
him,
and he's like, his eyelashes are so loud, and so
I
he
can
has
hear
to
every
pillow
blink.
talk with Robbie because the guy won't stop fluttering his too long eyelashes, and so all of it is Ant just having these amazing denial thoughts. It's so great.
I like this whole denial train, and this is later in the book. I mean, it's probably 60 or 70% of the way through, and Ant is saying like, I don't know what to say. My dick really likes him. My dick loved the way he smells. Oh, my dick loves his laugh. And he's just attributing everything to his dick, but he's just listing all of these non-physical attributes.
Yeah.
And it was cracking me up. There's a few times, too, where as they are narrating from their own point of view, they almost like break the fourth wall and sort of talk to the reader a bit, just when something absurd is happening and they're recognizing the absurdity, and that usually made me laugh.
I loved the writing. It was really good. And
it was fun.
Jesse H. Rain has quite a few books that are all really fun. This was, I think, a unique one, and it was extra bantery, but it wasn't, there was banter between them, but the internal gymnastics was amazing. But all of them are hot and not overly like the other. Sometimes an author, if they have a niche, you kind of are like, okay, I know
I already read
the
this
general theme, but they've all been really fun. Like there's one called Rent, paid in full, and it is kind of goes where you think it might go.
Did they pay with money, or was it with something else?
They paid with other things.
Okay.
There was a currency at hand that was a different exchange, but so it was all of it's kind of fun though. I think that Jesse H. Rain has some angsty ones, but the ones I've read have been generally lighthearted. This one really is not have angst. There's the internalized and externalized homophobia part, so that is there, but there isn't this kind of like heart-rending.
It's not too heavy because while he does have this horrible backstory that led him to being guarded, everyone in the story and that's in his life presently is supportive of him.
Right. Yeah.
So he's not going through such a horrible time. He's just like coming to terms with that.
Yeah.
There's a part in the book where he's just kind of lamenting to Robbie that he is no longer in contact with his childhood best friend. Just because Stacy. Because life dragged them apart and he's always on the road. There wasn't
He's
like a
an introvert. She's an introvert.
Right.
They both hate people.
And he's kind of just describing it as this foregone conclusion, like, yeah, she was a great friend. I'm so sad and disappointed that I let that die. And Robbie is like, oh, just call her. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you. You can just try again. And Aunt has this internal thought of, when he says it like that, it's the weirdest thing. It makes me think it's possible.
No.
I wouldn't have thought that, but when he says it, I'm convinced. And that's a scene where you can really see this fun thing in romance where this character's got these problems and they're holding him back in life in certain ways. And because of the love and the faith and support from the other love interest, it's like healing him, and he's thinking differently, and he's responding to the same kind of situation in a more like positive and wholehearted way.
He has a new way to do it.
Yeah, and he does end up calling Stacy, and they get back to being friends, and that is his kind of confidant that he, as he's trying to work through, like, what is going on with me? Like,
why did I leave the heart on the car window?
Yeah, why? I let him take me on a date. Like, we went and had hot chocolate.
We drank hot chocolate.
Yeah, and he's kind of almost crying. And Stacy, her response is so good. She's like, no, he didn't. Like,
she's worse.
He
sounds impossible.
Coming right back with the same kind of energy of like, oh, that's horrible. But you can tell she's like absolutely delighted.
Yeah, yeah, it's so great. So we were looking a bit up on the bio of Jesse H. Rain because I wasn't sure. I want to know more about this author. And so we learned that she writes quite a few books. And I was like, oh, it's so interesting because I read so many romances. Seems to be women writing for women generally. And do gay men read these? And of course, gay men are writing gay male romance. But it seems like
it's a minority.
Or maybe I'm not tapped into it, but there is a huge amount of women who write it. It's just really fascinating.
I definitely read some Male by Alexis Hall.
Oh, so good.
Speaking of Jesse H. Rains, the book 2 in this series
coming out May 25th.
Yeah, next month, and it's not the love interest that we saw introduced in this book. It's a different. Actually, at the very end of the book, they move into a house and they see this kind of old retired.
Emotionally wounded.
Yes, a hockey star that is a neighbor across the street, and he's
been
just
broken.
Very. He's introduced in a short little clip, and that is who the second book is about.
Yeah.
So she sticks to Male on her Jesse Rain on her bios. She says she
that's
writes
her jam.
Male. That's what she does. So
she's nailing it.
Yeah, more
No
power
pun
to her.
intended. Last thing on the big picture thing that I was thinking about with the MM romances, and that a lot of the reviewers I see reading it seem to be women, and all of this is just me scanning online. So, of course, none of this is
It's
backed
not
by...
necessarily a representative sample.
Yes, these are not facts. This is just me having a thought that I'm sharing out loud as I'm kind of formulating it. But for me, the reason why I really like reading MM is it's so hot. Like the power dynamic between two dudes is really different than between two women, or man and woman, or different
Some
like
other
queer.
combination.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the different combinations of love. But specifically when I read MM, it's this kind of like two very strong people usually. Of course, there's like the daddy thing, and there's the boy, and then there's a different dynamic. But this one, it's like two powerhouses, and it's hot.
Yeah, they're like rams butting heads or something.
Yeah, it is.
Is it not like that?
Very accurate, actually. But I was wondering too, I'm like, oh, it's kind of voyeuristic because I don't have the opportunity to witness that or be part of that. And it's exciting and titillating. Yeah. And I remember one of my housemates a while ago was a gay man, long years ago, and I was like, oh, show me some of your favorite porn. So he played one for me, and I was like, but what's the plot? And he looked at me and just started cracking up. He's like, the plot is that they're Brazilian soldiers. I'm like, that's the whole plot? And he's like, they're in a bunker. So I like, it was a visual, but they didn't have all the angst and the like good writing and these character developments that I get reading a book, but then I also get that like payoff of the spiciness. So for me, that's why I like reading. It's really fun because, yeah, the guys in the bunker, I was like, I need some more storyline.
Well, maybe that you've kind of scratched the surface on something. Of course, we're just talking generalities, but
Yeah.
if men tend to be more visual and they're not so much into the plot, maybe there's just not really a market for gay men reading men, because that's not the way they want to get their kicks.
Yeah. This is all generalities. We know that we're not speaking for everybody, but that's just such a good point because I love a story. I'm like, but who are they?
I need another motivation for why they're taking each other's clothes off right now.
Why is he wearing that outfit? Well, okay, so read the book. It's really fun.
Good. I'm super happy we read this one. I liked it.
I'm the better for it.
All right, well, what are we reading next week?
We are reading, it's a little bit shifting gears. It's called Thirsty. The author is Mia Hopkins. It's fabulous. It is male-female. It's set in Los Angeles, Southern California.
The Los Angeles area. I can't remember exactly which city.
Yeah, and he has just gotten out of prison. So it's this...
kind of gritty.
It's a little gritty, like reintegration, and he's trying to shift out of this gang world that he had been in, and so his navigation of that, and then, of course, the romance. And it's really well written. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, if you want to read along,
Thirsty.
Go ahead, or
Annie
you can just
Hopkins.
listen to us talk about it.
Yeah. We are Romance Unzipped. Thank you for joining us.
Goodbye.
Happily ever after.